canning day. So I've got my pressure cooker out. I'll kind of go over the things that you need to have if you're going to can. You have to have a pressure cooker. You cannot, or pressure canner. Not one of those Instapot type things with the control panel on the front. One of these, like Grandma used to use. You cannot do it in a canner, a water bath canner, because the pressure doesn't get up high enough. So, I've got my pressure canner, and I'm in the process of filling it 2 inches, give or take, with water. Okay, so I've got my hamburger meat going, and as each little batch gets done, I'm going to put it into a bowl, and then I'll start another batch of burger, which I've got right there. Because if it gets too full, my arms aren't strong enough, I can't stir it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tip this to the side, and I'm just going to start scooping it out from up here. Get this closer so I don't make a mess. Just going to put it in there. Taking it off the top, hoping that the grease is settling down that bottom corner. So it's not dripping grease, which is a good thing. Another thing that I need to tell you is that if you're frying up hamburger meat to can the way I'm canning it, draw off all the fat. There was quite a bit, and I'll show you. As I go along and it kind of puddles up, I use a ladle and I pull off all. You don't want that. You don't want that in your handy dandy funnel. Just makes it easier to hit the jar. I'm going to start filling them up. Okay. Again, just filling it to this first lip right here on the jar, so you have 1 inch of headspace. And as far as the liquid goes, you could use hot water. You could use beef, but you have to have a liquid that's thin enough to fill in these holes in between all the meat to get the air out. I don't know if you can tell or not, but I'm not packing it real tight because I want that broth. I want the broth that it's going to create. The water's hot. And where is this? Alright, I'm just going to put water in these things, mostly for the broth, but because you need to get all those air bubbles out. Let's see, I'll show you. It's probably going to get hot, but hear it bubbling? Taking all those air bubbles out. That's you know the next part. Clean each and every rim on each and every jar. Again, it's a vinegar-soaked paper towel or washcloth, whatever you prefer. And you are going to scrub these babies good because hamburger is greasy and you don't want any residue or a chip left on this jar. Scrubbing it pretty good, putting some pretty fair pressure on there. And then using my clean finger, I use this one to push food down. And then I'll use this one to check for any chips or cracks in the edge. Where's my jar? Oh, you're on it. Okay, the rings. A couple things I want to say about rings. You want to use a ring that doesn't have this much rust on it. See how that's real ugly and nasty? I don't use those. I do not use them. The outside I don't really care, but the inside, if it's got rust, I don't know if you can see right here on that edge, it's got rust. I don't use those. So when I put my rings on, I look at them really, really carefully to make sure that they're pretty good. See, this one's super clean. Must be a new one. So I just take one out, put it on the cleaned edge, because I've already cleaned all the edges. Ouch, hot water. Woo. Super hot, super hot, super hot. One on each one. And while I'm putting them on here, I'm looking to see that these are all okay. Not bent, not scraped off or something. Checking them pretty good. The rings do not have to be sanitized or washed, although I run them through the dishwasher. Just going to put them on, spin it down, finger tight. And what I mean by finger tight is you give it a spin and it stops. It's snug. Then you just go a little bit further. You don't want to crank it down as tight as you can. So it's snug right there. A little bit of a turn. Canner they go. And again, it is a pressure canner, not a pressure cooker. So you stack them in there. And there. Now the lid, okay, you have to watch your rubber seal, that black thing in there. You got to check it for cracks. You got to check it for dry spots. If it's usually before I do every canning, I wash it real good afterwards, of course, and then I wash it before I use it again, and then just to keep it drying and cracking and all that kind of good stuff, I rub it with oil or I rub it with petroleum jelly, Vaseline. I keep it in my canning kit. I just coat it real good with that so it doesn't dry out, so it doesn't, you know, it just helps it to last longer if you take care of it, like anything. So while that water is heating up in the pot, I thought I'd come back and tell you the canning times will be different depending on the size jars, pints, quarts, half quart, or half pints. And also it'll depend on your altitude. So always look online. This is, I don't know if you can see it or not. Probably not. This is the National Center for Home Food Preserving. And I've looked up strips, cubes, chunks of meat. And here's all the directions. And then down towards the bottom, it'll tell you jar size, time process for pints, for quarts. And then depending on your altitude, it'll be different. Okay, the kitchen's clean. And I don't know if you can see the steam or not. You can hear it bubbling. And the jars they're pretty hot. Good enough. So now what I'm going to do is grab my lid, one-handed hopefully, and there is an arrow right here that you want to line up with the arrow that is on the pressure cooker. And for mine, it's right there on the handle. So if I can do this one-handed, line that up with that arrow on the handle. And then you just spin it closed. I have to use two hands. You just spin it closed so it locks in. Then, leaving it on hot or high temperature, you let that sit until air vents out of this hole right here. Once you get a good vent coming out, you let it vent for 10 minutes. So, I'm going to enjoy my coffee, and I'll be back. Okay, so now, I don't know if you can see it or not, behind my hand, see the steam coming up, and you can feel it. So I set a timer for 10 minutes. When that 10 minutes is up, I will put the little jiggler on it, that guy right there, and then I'll have to keep a real close eye on the pressure gauge. So as soon as 10 minutes is up, I'll be right back. Okay, my timer just went off, so I'm going to grab my jiggler. This is a 10-pound weight. And now I'm just going to watch this for when it gets up to 11 pounds. And then I'll drop my heat down a little bit, because if I leave the heat on high, it'll continue rising in pressure. And I want to keep it right at about 11, a little bit above maybe. So again, when the pressure gets up to 11, this gauge will go up. Then I'll drop my heat down. And then I'll set a timer for 75 minutes. Okay, so I'm at 11 pounds of pressure right now. So I'm going to lower my heat down. I put it at about a 6. Because I don't want it to go down more, but I don't want it to climb real high either. I don't want it to go down under 11 at all. Okay, so I'll set my timer for 75 minutes. Echo. Set a timer for 75 minutes.
1 hour and 15 minutes. Starting now.
Echo. Off. She started to play music. Alright. I'm going to stand here for a little bit and keep checking it. Make sure my flame isn't too high that brings the pressure in there over 11 too much further. So I'll keep an eye on this for a while. I won't leave the room. If anything, I'll go sit over there at the kitchen table, maybe have a cup of coffee, and rest for a little bit. There's a lot of hours on my feet, and I'm hurting. So I'll bring you back when it's all done. Well, not all done. I'll bring you back for the next step. Little needle is moving up. It's not quite to 5, but it's going. Okay, so I got up and checked this thing. It's a little hot. So I turned down my flame. As you can see, it's down as low as it'll go. So it's okay, you know, as long as it doesn't go under. That's my big fear. Because if it goes under the 11 pounds of pressure, I got to start over. I don't want to do that with my timer. How much time is left on the timer?
You have 10 seconds left on your 1 hour and 15-minute timer.
Yay! Echo. Volume off. Okay. Just a little bit more time left. There it is. Kept it at that. I kept it above 11 pounds of pressure the whole time. Echo. Off. Okay, so now I'm done with my timing part of this. It's been 75 minutes. So all I'm going to do is turn that off. I'm going to walk away from it, probably take it a good hour, hour and a half to cool down so that I keep forgetting what that's called. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. It's not a needle. Anyway, I'm going to, until it gets down to 0, I'm not going to touch it. Alrighty. The pressure is, I don't know if you can see, down to 0. No air's coming out, so I'm going to take this off. No more pressure, which is what I want. Move the lid. And the trick to taking the lid off is when you take it off, always open it away from yourself so you don't get a steam burn. And then when you pull the jars out, use these guys, the jar picker-uppers. Bubbling hot. That's the hamburger. So, yeah, here's my daughter and her husband, Tim and Lindsay. He's the one that's a singer. His band name is Ivan and Alyosha. And there's my girl, Lindsay Kaylee. Look at her. She's so funny. She's a teacher there in Washington. And then, I don't know how good this is going to show up. But there's my son and his wife. Get it over there. She is a physical therapist. He is in the Army, working at the Pentagon right now. And they just had twins. And there's me and Lindsay. Well, me a long time ago. And my son Eric and my daughter Lindsay. See it bubbling? Okay, so I'll let this sit here for 24 hours. I'll take the rings off. I'll wash the jars down, get any oils or yucks off of them, and then I'll label them, hamburger meat and the date. And I'm done. You can eat this right out of the jar too.